Hello and welcome to Louisville Focus. Today I'm going to talk to two of the most beautiful women in Louisville. Christa Snider, who is the CEO of the Belle of Louisville, and this beautiful lady is 110 years old. We're going to give you a behind-the-scenes look. If you think you know the Belle of Louisville, you're going to see even more than you ever realized. We'll talk history. We'll talk about what's going on currently, the great steamboat race, all of that and a whole lot of fun on Louisville Focus. When you think about what makes Louisville famous, I think you probably first think about bourbonism, perhaps Muhammad Ali, maybe Louisville Slugger bats, but certainly this beautiful lady behind us is one of the images that we all think about because she is loved. She is the Belle of Louisville since 1914. With us now is Heather Gottlieb, and she is the communications and content manager for the Belle of Louisville. She's going to give us all the information. Heather, first of all, welcome into the show.
Thank you. I love sharing the history of this boat because this is a special icon of Louisville, but not only Louisville, but you cannot experience a boat like this anywhere else. She is the world's oldest operating Mississippi River style steamboat.
Wow. So tell me, what does it take? What is the qualification to be considered a steamboat? When I think steamboat, I think coal power driven. Okay, how does she run today?
Yes, so back in the day, her engine was powered by coal. Now she has a diesel-fueled boiler that actually uses steam to propel the engine. And that is the original engine to the Belle. And it actually exists from before she was launched in 1914. We think the engine dates back at least to the 1890s.
Wow, so she is a steamboat.
She is a steamboat, yes, and you can definitely see her. You might have seen her in the past few weeks as we've prepared for the season. We've been lighting up the boiler and letting some of the steam go by. We tested the world famous calliope the other day, so that is an instrument on our roof that's also powered by steam.
All right, Heather, you're too young to really have a personal connection here, but I do. As we get older, you have to take care of yourself. We've done that with the Belle of Louisville because she is such a point of pride. So
Yes.
Tell me about some of the renovations, Heather, that the Belle has endured to keep her looking as great as she does today.
Absolutely. So the Belle started as the Idlewild in 1914. And so a lot of our captains who've been really working on the boat since, for decades now, describe her early days as more of like a pickup truck. She existed for a cargo vessel. And if you look at the side, it was not enclosed like that. It wasn't even as wide as that. There was basically like a picket fence on the side. And so that was really just to transport goods. And so since then, we've enclosed things. We've widened a lot of the decks. We've made it a lot more passenger friendly. So we've had a few major renovations go on over the years. We've got the metal on the outside now, but that wood there is actually the original 1914 wood. And at one point we stripped the paint and you could see the words Idlewild on the side, which was her name from 1914 to 1948 in her earliest days. And so since then, we've had a dance floor widened and expanded to make it a great passenger experience. And in 2010, we added air conditioning. So now we've got a
Yay.
nice, yes, it's a great summer experience. We've got a little bit of climate control going on our ballroom deck.
You know, she is so loved by the city of Louisville. And there is a nostalgic feel when you board the Belle of Louisville. You feel that history and you feel the connection to our city. Tell me a little bit about the feedback that you get, the passenger experience. What do you hear?
Absolutely. So everyone has amazing memories of the boat. I love hearing proms on the boat were a huge deal. So everybody's got really fond memories of that. And that's still something that happens today. We have people who have gotten married on the boat. There's a long history of teen cruises that people loved that happened in the 60s and 70s. And so a lot of people have really fond memories of the boat from that day. But things actually go back farther than that. A lot of people have connections to the boat. One of our engineers, actually, his parents met on a dance on the Avalon. And so he always says, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the Belle of Louisville. And so we always hear stories like that about Louisvillians who really, this boat has impacted their lives directly in those kinds of ways, or just a really fond sense of nostalgia. It's a place where people go and they just have these wonderful experiences. And so we definitely want to make sure that we can help people, relive that and experience it on our boat.
And thinking about or talking about great experiences, a lot of folks are familiar with the Great Steamboat Race.
Yes.
Okay, so for those who aren't, maybe they're from out of town and they're watching this show today and they're saying, okay, give me a little history about the Great Steamboat Race and how does it exist today?
Yes, so the Great Steamboat Race is fascinating. So the Belle was purchased for the city in 1962. 1963 was her first season, and she was getting sort of ship shape and ready to go. And the Coast Guard approved her to go on one ride. And so the city thought, you know what, let's get the best ride we can possibly get out of her, and we're going to have a steamboat race. And so that was the first one, and we've had one every year. It was in a little bit of a different style in 2020, and we actually raced our two boats against each other as a tribute to the Great Steamboat Race. But this year is going to be technically our 61st steamboat race since the Belle of Louisville became Louisville's steamboat.
All right, so Heather, before I let you go, there are folks here watching, they're saying, I want to experience the Belle of Louisville, I want more information. Your website, where do they go to talk to you, to talk to Christa, find out more about the Belle?
belleoflouisville.org. We are on Facebook as the Belle of Louisville. We have Instagram as Belle of Louisville, and we would love to hear any questions anybody has. We'd love to get people on the boats this season. It's going to be a good one.
Heather Gottlieb, so we thank you so much for all that great information.
Thank you so much.
And we'll take another look here, and then we may be having some more folks talk about the Belle of Louisville as well, but take a look at her. She is a beauty. Okay, when you talk about really cool jobs, this one's going to be tough to beat. She is the CEO of the Belle of Louisville. How cool is that? She is Christa Snider. And Christa, you've got a pretty good job, don't you?
I do. This is by far my favorite job I've ever had. And as you know, I've had some cool ones.
Well, it's because you're good at what you do.
I'm enthusiastic, if nothing else.
Well, no, you are a lot more than just enthusiastic, but yes, that is one of your attributes.
Yes.
Let's talk about what it takes to be the CEO of the Belle of Louisville, because first of all, you've got to be creative, you've got to be respective of history,
Yep.
but you also have to be strategic. So tell us a little bit about your job, and I think a lot of people think, well, I'm just cruising down the river. It's more than that.
Although that is my favorite part, the cruising part. You know, what you said really hit on it. I love history. I have been fortunate to work for some other history and cultural organizations. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but it helps to really be interested in what you're doing every day, right? So, you know, it was fun and has been fun to take that love of history and of community that has been sort of the central aspect of a lot of my opportunities and roles over the years, and put that together to the benefit of this community icon, right? The Belle, you know, I always say it's been my most interesting job because, as you know, I was first and foremost a marketer, right? I was a PR marketing person. And one of the challenges was always building awareness and, you know, explaining to people what the organization has to offer. That's been unusual with this role because people know the Belle.
Right.
I don't normally have to explain, at least to locals, what the Belle is. They have probably some personal connection or memory to the boat. The opportunity, which you've already kind of touched on, when I came into this role about 4.5 years ago, was to give her fresh life and bring some newness to what is a very old boat. And how can we, you know, be inspired by the past, but make sure that we are sustainable for the future?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
You helped me segue into my next question.
Okay,
here,
perfect.
Christa, because you talk about, you know, being present and being relevant. So it's 2024. What's going on with the Belle of Louisville? What you got cooking?
Well, so what I want people to know is it's not the same old Belle.
Not the same Belle.
It's not the same old Belle. That's probably going to be a tagline that you hear a lot because, again, people know the Belle, but we're asking you to come and possibly recreate your opinion of her.
So if you dated the Belle way back when, it's time to reintroduce yourself and have another date with the Belle.
That's right. I can't tell you. I wish I had $1 for every person who has said this to me. that the last time they were on the Belle was a grade school field trip. And they're people my age. So they need to come back, because especially over the last 4 or 5 years, certainly since COVID, we have reinvented ourselves. And I should say, because she's staring at me off camera, the Belle has a sister vessel, the Mary M. Miller, who a lot of people also haven't been on yet. She's kind of like the redheaded stepchild, so I want to make sure that she gets her due attention as well.
She needs some love.
She needs some love, because she is a lovely boat. But between the two of them, we have so many new things that chances are you haven't experienced yet. So,
All right, so let us have it.
So, where to begin? We have tons of live music. If you are a music lover, you definitely got to check out what's coming up on our calendar. A lot of different types of live music. One of the most popular cruises that we have created or recreated over the last few years is called the Sunset Cruise. And it's pretty straightforward. It's a sunset time cruise on the Belle on Saturday nights. And it's really a little bit more of a night out club sort of an atmosphere, but it's absolutely focused around really, really good live music. So I'm telling you now, go ahead, book those early, because those are the ones that always sell out. Here to start the season, we have a moonlight version of that, because the days will obviously get longer, and we want to manage expectations with people. But those are from 8 to 10 on Saturday nights. So coming out of the gate, that's one to keep an eye on if you need to make plans with somebody. We are also doing a lot to really expand what we have to offer for families with young kids. One of our most popular offerings has been our kids cruises, and this year we have freshened that up. Bear with me, we're calling it the Steamboat Kids Cruise. And the STEAM in this case stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. Right?
Love it.
So if you're a parent and you pay attention to education, then you know what we're talking about. But that is just to say there's lots of interactive activities that are founded in educational principles, but first and foremost, it's super fun. And those happen every single week. The really big news about that, the scoop, if you will, is that those are now included in the annual pass. And the annual pass allows you to cruise, basically unlimited cruises all season long, which is crazy. It's about, actually today, goes up to $110 for the Belle's 110th anniversary, because we can't pass up a cheesy, connection when it presents itself. But it's a really good deal because it's unlimited cruises. Now, if you want to cruise with a meal, there is a little bit of an upcharge for that. But if you're a parent with kids or just somebody who loves the water and just wants to get out, you cannot beat that deal.
No.
And there's free popcorn. Which is my favorite.
I love you.
They just hand me the popcorn when I come on board.
You can't beat that. A cruise on the river, free popcorn, live music, it's all there.
So the point is from those two examples alone, and there's more, but there's a spectrum of things. Something that's more like an adult night out, a girls' night out, versus, offerings that are for young children that are very interactive.
Okay, so I don't want to be repetitive here, but I'm going to ask it through all of our interviews. For folks who are interested, maybe they have a group, perhaps they have out-of-town guests, and they're going, I'd love them to have the Belle of Louisville experience, and we highly recommend it. Okay, where do they go once again?
They go to belleoflouisville.org, and that is the best way to really get a full grasp of everything we offer. There's something for people who love history, if you want like a narrated cruise, or if you want something on the much more sort of immersive end, like murder mystery cruises. Those are offered on a regular basis too. So, but also just call our ticket office. They're awesome at letting people know, what's available depending on what they're interested in.
So before I let you go, okay, they've expanded the dance floor. So you promised me a dance. You're going to show me that you can really shake a leg aboard the Belle of Louisville.
I sure hope so. My parents spent a lot of money on dance lessons, if I can't.
Don't make me look too bad now. All right.
I'm out of practice, but we can do it.
I bet you're good. I bet you're good. She's good at a lot of things, as you can tell. She is the CEO of the beautiful Belle of Louisville since 1914. Come on out and see her. When you think about Louisville icons, you may think, okay, Muhammad Ali. Well, what Muhammad Ali was to boxing, Mike Fitzgerald is to steamboats. He is the captain of the Belle of Louisville. He is Mr. Mike Fitzgerald, or better said, Captain Mike Fitzgerald. Thank you so much, Mike, for doing the show with us.
Certainly.
All right, let's talk a little bit about your history. You don't just come into town and say, hey, I want to be the captain of the Belle of Louisville. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I started working on the Belle in 1974, fresh out of high school, stars as a deckhand, and was able to work my way up from there. In 1979, I was turned loose as a pilot, and a little bit later in 79, became the alternate master assistant captain. And worked that for a number of years. In 83, I was promoted to the senior master of the boat. Oversaw the boat and also helped direct the agency and with the operating board. And did that until 2001. I retired in 2001 and stayed here part-time, worked downriver on the Gloria Road for about 8 years, came back here full-time as a pilot, and I do carpentry work as well. And let the younger guys actually run captain these days. And we're bringing people along. I'm one of several people who help train others, and we bring other people up. And so we're maintaining the tradition of what we do.
So since 1979, so if anyone knows this boat, no one knows it better than you, I assume.
Well, I don't know. Oh, no. I would never say that. I'd never say that. But the longer you've been here, the more you catch on to different things and certain nuances of the boat.
So this room we're in now, you see, this is like the cockpit of an airplane. What exactly do we call this, Mike?
This is our pilot house.
Pilot house, okay. So Captain Mike, tell me, I'm looking around and I see a lot of, it looks like antiquated equipment, but is it still operational? And tell me a little bit about some of the things we're looking at now. Tell me.
Certainly. We're stepping back in time, actually. This is 1914 pilot house. And everything you see here is operational. Our pilot wheel here, when the boat was originally built, they never steered by hand. They used these levers. It's not on right now, but this is a power steering lever. If I were to pull this way, the wheel would start to turn, and I could bring it up and stop the wheel. And same thing if I go the other direction. This is sort of like the gas pedal. Now, it's not direct control. If we were to ask for, say, slow astern, we would put it on stop, drop it down to slow astern. And the engineer downstairs has a dial similar to this, and he would look up and see what we want, and he would actually operate the engines and start back in slow astern for us. So it's definitely a team effort in everything we do. We control the steering, the direction of the vessel. They control the direction of the wheel and the speed of the wheel. But we all work together to actually and do what we need to do to get the boat up and down the river, as well as the guys out on the bow, the deckhands working lines and that.
Okay. So Captain Fitz, now, it's all fun and games when you're cruising a river until something goes wrong. So safety is of the utmost. I know that very important to you.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about safety measures. I know, of course, we have life vests and all of that, but this is very well equipped and a very safe boat to have on the river, correct?
Oh, yes. We have inspections 4 times a year with the United States Coast Guard, plus we maintain her to current standards as closely as we possibly can with an antique vessel as she is. We had our shakedown cruise, taking her out for our first trial run the other day. Everything worked well. She's she's very reliable, and she's a good handling boat, and we're very careful. We watch the weather and river conditions, and if need be, we'll stay dockside and not go out if we deem it not a good thing to do at the time.
Captain Fitzgerald, you have a very, very enviable job. I think a lot of folks would like to be captain of the Belle of Louisville. With that being said, I would assume it never gets old. Talk to me about the pride of being the captain of this vessel.
I think, and this holds true for all of us, to be a crew member and a part of this boat at whatever level we are. I think all of us, we take a certain amount of pride, because we have these 2 national landmarks the Belle of Louisville and our wharf boat just forward of us, the Andrew Broadus. And they're 2 of only 8 in the city limits of Louisville. And we take care of them. We have been for years. And so we take a lot of pride, each of us, in just what we do in maintaining these 2 operational National Historic Landmarks, not only for our community, but for the country as well.
Yes.
So it's that's very rewarding in itself.
So fun, pride, and safety aboard the Belle of Louisville, thanks to this gentleman, Captain Mike Fitzgerald. So we told you we were going to pull back the curtain here with the Belle of Louisville. Well, this happens to be the Wizard of Oz when it comes to the Belle, because we are down here. I guess this is the engine room. He is Dan Lewis, and he is the chief engineer. Okay, Dan, the engine room. Familiarize me with some of this, if you would.
Well, behind you is some of the steam equipment that powers the Belle. We have one of the main engines over there. There's a set of them. We try to keep the Belle as much the authentic operation as she was originally built for. So all this behind you is all antique equipment. We pull river water in and boil it up in our boilers up front, and then send it back here through some large piping and run all of our equipment, run the paddle wheel.
So Dan, to say that the job of your team is very unique in that, yes, you have to be engineers, you have to be very mechanical, but you also have to know an older ship. That's got to be somewhat of a challenge, because it's not like this is a brand new engine and you can learn this anywhere. A lot of this is probably unique to the Belle, right?
Right. I mean, she does have some very unique pieces of equipment that you're really not going to see anywhere else, especially on any riverboats nowadays. So there is some specific things to learn. I mean, you learn the basic principles like you would anywhere else, but then you have to learn all the idiosyncrasies of the equipment as well. It's some of this equipment is close to 150 years old. So.
Woo. Okay, so we're upstairs and we're dancing and having a great time on the river. You're down here working. Let's say like the Great Steamboat Race. Mm-hmm. How hard is it for you guys and your team to get up to full speed on the Belle of Louisville?
It's not any harder than normal. I mean, we have to fire the boiler to produce enough steam, so we'll fire a little bit harder for the race, but then the throttle setting on the engines is a little bit higher. And that's, it's really just keeping up with the system. You're boiling more water, producing more steam, so, you just keep an eye on all that, and your water level in the boiler is very important. But then operation of the engines, of course, make sure everything's following along like it should. So
it's pretty obvious to me that you're very educated here. I would think there's an educational component. Do you have maybe kids, school children from Jefferson County Public Schools that come down here and can ask you questions and maybe learn a little bit about the Belle of Louisville?
Oh yeah, we welcome any age down here and to come down and ask us any questions they want. It's really I really enjoy that part of it myself. Having the young kids come down and see it for the first time, and it almost hypnotizes them when they see everything moving, and it just really grabs their attention and their imagination sometimes.
Something that really seems to be prevalent here, and I'm sure it's true with you as well, is the pride factor that is involved in working on the Belle of Louisville, because she is iconic, she is unique, she is Louisville, and we love her. When you tell folks what you do, there's got to be a little bit of pride there, Dan, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I've been here about 30 years now, so it's there's definitely that element to it. There's just it's kind of hard to describe, but it's just something that becomes ingrained in you after serving on here for so many years. Well,
on behalf of the city of Louisville and our viewers who are watching now, thank you for what you do and keeping her up and running. She looks fantastic. She runs very well. Captain Fitz was telling me, he said, she runs very, very well for a boat that's 110 years old. And I know that's due to you. So, Dan, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Once again, that's Dan Lewis, the chief engineer on the Belle of Louisville. So if you're a Louisvillian, now you know all you need to know for your out-of-town visitors about the Belle of Louisville. Christa, how much fun did we have?
A lot.
Okay, but before we close it out, I have to ask you, may I have this dance?
Of course.